Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlot Banter. My name is Tucker Hazel, and this is my co-host Tanner Dexter, who, let's be honest, doesn't belong anywhere. And today we're here to talk about Elio, the new Pixar movie about a little kid who's got a big dream to find aliens. And we're here to give our thoughts on it. But
Yes.
of course, if you have seen Elio and want to talk to us about it, we have a Discord server that you can join. You can leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. You can like and subscribe.
hmm
Tanner, what do you think
Yes.
about Elio?
Well, Tucker, first of all, piggybacking off the Discord thing, our very own communiverse that you can join if you want.
Whoa,
Yes,
whoa.
that's
Were
right.
you were
Sorry, I
you
had to
cooking that
interject
up
with
all
that.
night? You're like thinking about that as you're watching the movie, like, I can't wait to say that one
No.
during the review.
No, Tucker, that was top of the dome. That was top of the dome.
Whoa.
Though I was cooking up this after I walked out of
Okay.
Elio
Your
last night.
thoughts.
Elio is a cute, fun, at times a very heartfelt movie that has a serious storytelling plotting issue,
Okay,
I
sure.
think. I think that this movie has very solid moments, but for me, watching the film for the entire hour and a half, hour and 40-minute runtime, I was like, there's just something not clicking with like the actual narrative here.
Mm,
There are moments, shining moments of Elio where I was like, this works, this is nice, this is funny, this is whatever.
yeah.
But as an entire like weave together story of a lot of different ideas, I'll be
Mm,
honest. It just doesn't seem that cohesive to me, and I
yeah.
think that really hinders it and pulls it back in my mind.
Okay, well, yeah, we're gonna spend some time in this review unpacking where the complexity of Elio lies, because my
Sure.
take is somewhat opposite, though ultimately we might just be wording things differently.
Okay.
Because
Sure.
I think this movie is very good. I think that Elio's a very charming character. I like the designs of a lot of the characters. It's got a great core idea of a kid
Mm.
accidentally being thrust into the role of leader of Earth to a bunch of alien communities. Like, all right, that is a great idea for a movie, especially having
hmm
a kid who's obsessed with aliens, who wants to be abducted by aliens. It plays with alien abduction tropes and things like that. I'm like, all right, I'm really sold on the idea of this, and it does nail those elements. But I find Elliot to be almost too simple. Like, there's just not a
Okay.
lot going on a plot level, and I was like, all right, this is very predictable. It feels like I'm just going through the motions. I know exactly where this is going until the last act. I think the last act is actually more interesting, unique, and complicated than the rest of it. But
hmm
it's a very good movie. It's got great themes. It's got a good core character. It's got great designs. It is definitely a good
Yep.
movie, but I felt it lacking in that I thought it was too straightforward. It was too simple,
Interesting.
and so
Interesting.
it's odd. Like, maybe we're actually saying the same thing and just saying it differently, but
Okay.
or
Yeah,
maybe we watch different cuts, Tanner.
I'm trying. Maybe we did. I'm trying to find the common ground here. I think potentially where we might align here is that I think there's a lot of plot elements, a lot of like conflicts introduced for Elio to get over, and perhaps we don't go deep enough into any particular one of them. I
Okay,
was
sure.
talking with our friend Seth, who watched this film with me last night. I was like, okay, I agree with you. Core concept, this is what sold me from the trailer. It's like core concept of, loner kid, sort of nerdy kid who doesn't really fit in, gets abducted by aliens, and they think he's the leader of Earth. Great idea for a
Yeah.
movie. Fantastic, like super strong pitch for a Pixar movie here. And I was like, okay, great. We're basically starting off with that in the film. And then we go to also there's a clone of him back on Earth that is
Sure.
taking his
Yeah.
place. So I was like, that's a pretty weighty, important like plot detail that I feel like we're sort of cramming into this story.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, fair enough. Like I can understand that, sure. And then we're like, and also this. Okay, so now there's an evil empire that he has to take down that's gonna destroy the communiverse. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, it feels like we're obfuscating like the conflict of the lie a little bit, and perhaps not
Hmm.
giving ourselves enough time to explore the world as much, explore the characters of the communiverse as much.
Hmm. Okay. I
But I
see.
can
I
see
see.
how this is an idea that you want to build upon from that core idea. And then, Tucker, at what point do we get introduced to everyone's favorite character, Glorden? Glorden,
G. Yeah. Gordon.
with a glee.
With a
Gordon gets
glee. Yeah.
introduced at with a glee. He gets introduced at the 50-minute mark.
Yeah, it's about
I want
halfway
to say.
through. Yeah.
I think when they abduct him and get back to the communiverse, we are an hour into the movie.
Okay.
I was like, this is where we really hit a wall, I
Hmm.
think. Because that is the core now conflict of the movie. That is the friend that Elio has found, the one he's been searching for. I was like, and now we have 30 minutes left of movie. And I just think it's off. I just think that throws the whole balance of the story off.
Sure, yeah. So I see what you're saying about these plot elements, but to me, yeah, you're introducing all these things, but like, they're like exactly what I expected. Like they weren't,
Okay.
they're not particularly complicated things. Like okay, oh, there's some good aliens, and Tanner, would you believe it? There's some bad aliens too, and
Well, yeah.
and so I'm like
that
yeah,
is to be expected, sure.
you're introducing that conflict, but like yeah, like you're gonna not have a bad guy in the movie. It's
Well, I understand that. Yeah.
so I don't take as much umbrage with the fact that it's adding these layers because I do think that those layers are even within what I see as a simple execution of this concept. Those layers are what adds any texture to it. And Gordon, I agree with that the dynamic between Elio and Gordon, I actually think Gordon like brings up the comedy level of the movie quite a bit when he shows
Sure,
up.
yeah.
I think his comedy bits work a lot funnier than a lot of the rest of the movie. But I also think it's kind of important for the movie for Elio to gain confidence before he meets a real friend. And so I think that is why it takes so long for Gordon to get introduced. Is the movie is really about, and this is actually in one of the best scenes of the movie, one of the opening scenes of the movie, when Elio is a child and he wanders into the space exhibit and he's laying on the floor and he's listening to this like science narrative about are we alone, and here's like the probes we're sending out into space, and that was a inspirational scene. I think it's just genuinely phenomenal. This kid with his wide eyes, his gigantic animated
very
wide
well
eyes,
done.
like looking up into the cosmos and hearing about the idea that there might be life out there. And it ends with this thing of like, are we alone? And that's the core of Elio. Is
It is.
both in a cosmic sense, are we alone? Is there someone else out there? Is there other life, other intelligent beings that we can connect with? And then on a personal level, are you alone? Are there other people out there that you can connect to? And that putting the loneliness of a child boy, a lonely child boy, and blowing it up to a cosmic scale, and using that classic sci-fi scientific phrase of "Are we alone in the universe?" And like it is paired so beautifully, and that is why I think this movie works in what it does. Is like it is doing something very core and human, the search for friendship, the search for community, and blowing it up to a cosmic scale and exaggerating it using fucking Pixar logic to cover the entire universe. And so following a lonely Elio, even if he's excited, he still hasn't made a connection for that first 50 minutes hour of the movie. I think is actually very important for the pacing, because we need to see Elio go from being lonely and having a purpose, which is he wants to get abducted, to lying about who he is to these other people, the aliens of the communiverse, because he thinks he needs to do that to fit in with someone. And so you have to go through these steps of him gaining confidence, learning about his self-identity, finding a role, before finding someone that he can actually connect to, and where his guard can come down with. And I like the moment when he meets Gordon for the first time. He's like, wait, you're a kid? I'm a kid too.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I like that too.
And I think you
the
need to take
connection
the
is quite
time.
good.
You need to take some time to build that up, so that there's a payoff for like him feeling like a sigh of relief that he can let his guard down around someone who he can relate to.
I totally understand that, and I would agree as well, but I just don't know if that dichotomy is built up well enough in the Communiverse for me.
Sure.
Because frankly, I don't think we spend enough time in there. Period.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I felt trouble in the air as soon as we were like, here's a room, here's a creature, here's a room, here's a creature, here's a room, here's a creature.
Yeah.
I was like, no, but hit the brakes here.
Let's get a scene here.
Let's get an actual scene. Let's get to understand some of these characters that we see see time and time again. And I think that for me would flesh out that idea a
Yeah,
lot more
definitely.
of like him feeling the pressure of needing to lie a little bit.
Yeah.
Because
And as
there's
we're
the
getting
scene where
introduced to all this, they're like, oh, and the other candidates on the line got to go. And it's like, ah, shit.
yeah, yeah,
I know what you mean.
I think this bit moves far too quickly,
Absolutely.
honestly. And I think there's a better setup for the ideas that you're
Yeah.
right are in the movie. I'm not denying that those are in the movie, and
Hmm.
that is the core theming of Elio. But yeah, I just wish that there was like some stronger setup for
Yeah.
this. This is not my observation, Tucker. This is an observation from Chefrillis from YouTube slash
Sure.
Letterboxd.
Yeah.
He points out that the story, the core idea of this story, is shockingly similar to an animated movie of our youth, a little movie called Shark Tale. And
Oh boy, I have
that
no idea
movie
what that movie's about. I guess it's like
okay.
Elio.
Um, but yeah, it's the same thing of like character who has to lie to the public to become beloved by his community,
Mhm.
making befriending a character from like the bad guys.
Oh, like How to Train Your Dragon.
Like exactly like How to Train Your Dragon as well. But more about like the lie of pretending something he's not.
Yeah,
And frankly,
like How to Train
like
Your Dragon.
the setup.
I just watched that movie yesterday, so it's funny you're doing these bits. I'm like, hey, hold on.
Yeah, but like in How to Train Your Dragon, Hiccup isn't like and I killed the dragon. And everyone loves him as like the dragon killer or whatever.
Kinda. He wins Top Slayer. They're all like patting him on the back and being like, "Oh yeah, Hiccup, you're
Yeah,
one of us now."
but that's more of I don't know. I think of that as like the training thing, like the induction. It'd be
Sure,
like if Hiccup
that's the whole movie though.
if Hiccup became
Whatever.
like the same
We're talking about How to Train
stature
Your
of
Dragon now.
as Stoic.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point being that even in the shitty DreamWorks movie Shark Tale, this setup of like
Yeah.
the world that he's in and how the lie mounds and mounds and builds on
Yeah.
Oscar,
True.
Will Smith's character in Shark Tale, how it builds on him and weighs on him, and how the weight of fame and everything like starts to crush him, and the lie becomes unattainable or
Yeah.
or unmanageable. That is not really here in Elio
No, it's
because
definitely
we
simplified.
have other things going on.
Yeah, you're right because the lie is definitely backgrounded because we have kind of a Act Two, Part One, and Act Two A and Act Two B, and Act Two B is the much bigger part in terms of time scale, which is when Elio is dealing with the Hygorgian king or whatever. Who I can't remember the name off the top of my head.
Right.
He's dealing with the like the debate trying to convince him to not kill everyone.
Yeah,
Conversation.
he's negotiating.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
The negotiation, and then he is exploring the ship, and then he's dealing with Gordon, and then that actually takes quite a bit of time, and that definitely does background the fact that the core conflict is actually more about this lie that he's shared with the communiverse of that he's the leader of Earth, and so I actually think that for me the biggest issue with this movie narratively is how that all comes together at the end, which is he pops out he pops out, returns with Gordon. They have this I think really fun montage where the two of them are palling around the convenient communiverse and like doing a bunch of stuff.
That's where you could like montage stuff after
Yeah,
we
yeah.
know like some of the fun things in the communiverse.
Sure,
Not
yeah.
right up front. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Gordon's father shows up, and the lie is revealed, and that moment, I was like, okay, all right, yeah, it had to come out in some way, and then we go through everything, and then the very last thing is ostensibly is all the aliens of the communiverse are like, well, you did lie to us, but that's okay. And I'm like, oh damn!
Yeah.
Like it's how it all comes together at the very end. Like, all right, these beats are being hit, but the conflict moment, the difficult moment when he has to be sent away because he was lying to them, and that's something that should not have you not be a part of the communiverse, the most intelligent conglomeration of beings. To
Right.
him coming back and stopping the bag. There's this moment that like a little rock guy the statue
Mm-hmm.
guy is like, no,
Mm-hmm.
well, you did get rid of the bad guy, and I'm like, that's the like justification. I'm like, yeah, it
Yeah,
literally is
it's
the
a lot of
justification, but make like a 2 to 3 minute scene of like talking about this, of Elio like
yeah.
more sincerely apologizing for this fact, and them
Mm-hmm.
discussing the fact that actually, because this is what the movie's going for, but it crams it down into it does like the
It
peanut butter
does.
and a diamond thing, but it's
It
not.
flattens this moment. Yeah.
Yeah, where what it's going for is that the reason why they accept Elio into the communiverse is because he actually has shown qualities of leadership, taking charge, being confident, understanding and connecting to others, managing conflict. These are qualities of a leader and do make him a valued member. Obviously, he also saved their lives, but make him a
Mm-hmm.
potentially valued member of this community. But because that scene is almost played for like quick jokes of like, oh yeah, okay, we're back, and you saved our lives, so you can be a part of it now. And then
Mm-hmm.
he does have this mature moment where he says, no, actually, I need to discover myself before I come to the community.
Right.
I wish that there was a better scene there of tying this all together. I think honestly we wouldn't really have any issues with the setups of these things if the payoff wasn't so flattened, as you said.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I honestly, I just think of like, the creme de la creme of Pixar movies in that they take simple storytelling, they take, point A, point B, point C, whatever, and are able to weave the thematics of the film through those points very strongly,
Mm,
as opposed to this film, which I think just is going in way too many directions, is moving far
mm,
too quickly, all these things that we've already said. Because yeah, on top of all of this, there is in the back of your mind this idea that we return to probably not enough for how important on paper this idea is of like Elio's aunt is with a clone of Elio.
mm-hmm. Yeah, something
And
that was
like,
not shown in the
the
marketing at all. It was a big surprise
no.
moment. Yeah.
And this clone of Elio has been given the directive to just be normal. So he's dropped all of the alien stuff or whatever, like his aliens obsession and everything. And he's being normal, and like, we see that that she's getting along with clone Elio, and that she likes that he's being more normal. And then all of a sudden she's like, "Aha! But I knew all along, in fact, and I've been running
Yeah,
this
yeah,
secret
yeah.
conspiracy investigation about how this Elio has been abducted by aliens or something or whatever." And I was like, okay, sure. Like this seems like
Yeah.
this could be an entire if we were having a more simplified version of this film, this could be like a real B narrative. This could be like the real other
Mm-hmm.
half of this story instead of something that we return to two, three
Yeah.
times, like
Mm-hmm.
only once in real material value. It results in this scene, the scene that where we actually reveal that she has her suspicions in like I think this movie does a couple of times where it does like real like invasion of the body snatchers like horror
Mm.
stuff, like horror inspired filmmaking with the hair crawling along the
That's
ground
the funniest
or
scene
like
in the movie. I was literally laughing out loud. That little blonde
sure.
hair, I think, is
Yeah.
hilarious. I think it's so funny.
The
Watch it go.
the yes.
God.
The like the filmmaking tendencies though of
Yeah.
this scene are like what the Pixar animators I kind of felt like or the director was kind of like what if we made this like a sci-fi
Yeah.
horror
Hmm.
film of
Definitely.
sorts?
Hmm.
And it happens again when they're sneaking into the base to get the
Yeah.
ship and they use Clone Elio as like a distraction or whatever. Um, and I feel like it's a neat idea to like to put those in the movie, those like horror inspired sequences, but like they just kind of make the direction of the film feel a little bit wonky. I
Mm-hmm.
feel it's kind of a tough line to walk. I just think that it completely shifts the mood rather than being like fun and also like the characters in the film are freaked out, but the audience is not. Like I think those scenes might be genuinely terrifying for children.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really think about it that way. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, that plotline is definitely underserved. I do
Hmm.
think it leads to a good combination of the themes and characters. I think maybe the best scene in the movie, narratively and writing wise, is the moment when Elio shows back up on the beach and he shares a moment with his aunt where the two of them discuss the fact that they do care for one another and that they like really connect on a personal level that we haven't seen before. that I think is like the tearing up moment of the movie for many people. I think
Sure.
it's the most emotionally resonant point of the movie. And so it comes to a good moment there. But yeah, I agree that it's not fleshed out enough for as interesting a concept of it is. But it's like, okay, we just need to give the ant something to do. And so we
Yes.
like put this
And
B plot that you're right is like a crazy concept that you're like, oh, I wish we learned more about this. And it's like it's
mhm,
mostly played for jokes. Like when he cuts
yeah.
off his thumb and he's like, oops.
And as our friend Seth
Whoa.
pointed out, like, would be more narratively interesting if Elio was just missing on
Hmm.
Earth. Like, would like
Maybe
raise the tensions and the drama more.
I don't know. I think that the idea of Elio feeling lonely and that he didn't connect to his family, his only family member being his aunt, um,
Hmm.
and literally being able to see a better version of him that alienates him even further from the people that he's close to, his aunt. I think is really important thematically because this
Hmm.
movie exaggerates those fears, the fears of a child that you are alone and that people don't care for
Hmm.
you. You create these narratives in your head when you're a child, and Elio, it's an externalization of those fears, which I think this movie is
Yeah.
very good at, and having him see and feel this genuine fear that he is the worst version of himself, and he's able to like believe that and see it confirmed by this externalization of a quote unquote better
Hmm.
version of himself. I think that actually is really core to his character arc, and to the especially the bond between
Yeah.
him and his aunt. I
Yeah.
like because what would even really happen if he was entirely gone and there was nothing going on? She would just be like running around and putting up like posters and like talking to like the camp counselor or whatever. Like that's a way less interesting thing that also gives no connection
I don't
between the
know.
two
She
stories because there's no
if
way for
w-
the two of them
if
to communicate.
if there was like hints that he had been abducted, then you could do her becoming a true believer
Oh
and
sure, yeah.
things like that.
Hmm.
And hey, maybe even weave into the narrative instead of just throwing him in at the end of the ham radio
Yeah, yeah,
guy at
yeah.
the end. Like have her like confide in him and talk with him about alien theories and
Sure.
alien abduction and so on and so forth.
And I think those two
And
things could
all
be combined if he was involved in the clone storyline. If it was the two of them, if it was
sure.
maybe his conspiracy minded nature, like if they were friends and his conspiracy minded brain like
Mhm.
saw Elio acting normal, he's like, oh, maybe this is an alien thing. I've heard about this on Reddit. Like I
Uh-huh.
think that maybe would have combined it a little
He
better.
should name drop Reddit in the movie as well. He should do that. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Like, I just feel like there's a better version of this movie that I can imagine as I'm watching it.
Sure, yeah.
Like even earlier when we were talking about it, was like the negotiation scene. I was like, yeah, have like the negotiation take place in front of the communiverse. So like Elio feels the real pressure of like having to lie and like bloviate in front of
Oh,
all of the
sure.
people, in front of everyone or
Yeah.
whatever. Like that heightens the tension instead of having it be on the ship so we can meet Gordon and so on and so forth and everything. Yeah, I just think the plotting of this film just doesn't really work, and we didn't really touch on it, but I think there are solid moments here. The moment that you mentioned on the beach, there's a couple of things like that. There's a couple of cute funny lines that are really solid in this film, but the package, the full body of what we're talking about here just doesn't fit together. It feels a little loose. It feels a
Hmm.
little ramshackle for
Sure.
me. So if we're wrapping up, I'm gonna give it 5.5 out of 10.
5.5. Okay. Yeah, I'll say 7.1 out of 10. Um,
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, with these, I think it turns, the issues turn a potentially great movie into a good movie. I think it has all the
Okay.
themes. It has a fun core main character. Again, my favorite element of the movie, other than like the themes of connection and these things, are the way that it plays with alien abduction tropes and things like that. I love the moment
Yeah,
when it's
sure.
like, "Bring us your leader," and then she picks up her phone and says, "Please." I'm like,
Yes,
that's
that's good.
fucking
That's
silly.
funny.
I love
It's
the moment when he's
funny.
getting abducted. And like the tractor beam is pulling up, and he's like swimming up and excited, like yes,
Swimming in
yes,
it.
yes. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
that is like something that like, oh, why didn't I see this in a movie 30 years ago? Like someone
Uh-huh.
excitedly
Uh-huh.
swimming up a tractor beam. That's such a great
Uh-huh.
image. And him like being like, oh boy, oh I just had my first probe, yes. Like these moments are like very gratifying to me as a fan of sci-fi imagery and tropes, and seeing them sort of played with like little clay balls, I think is really really fun. And so at the end of the day, it's a fun movie. It's solid, but you're right. It isn't stuck together in the way that it could be to have something that's like truly truly impactful.
And maybe Tucker, maybe I'm just yearning for some prime Pixar. Okay, maybe it's
Back
just
in
been a little
my
while in
day.
my mind. Back
Yeah,
in my
2023 was
day,
the
yeah.
best movie, Elemental.
Well, I mean, I was literally walking out. I was like, I mean, it makes you yearn for like the COVID era Pixar stuff.
Yeah,
Ultimately, well, your souls, your Lucas, you're turning red. It
yeah,
was like that's the best stuff they've done in a while in this decade, and I don't know. It's another not quite there
sure.
for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, everyone, thank you very much for watching our discussion of the new Pixar film Elio. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time. And oh wait, no, uh thank you,
Thank
goodbye,
you.
something,
Love
goodbye,
you.
love you, something like that.
hmm
We fucked it up.
Something like that.